Alrighty, I think we are good to go. With no further ado, I would like everybody to meet Bob Sagoo. Bob is with Pretorian Technologies out of the UK. They're a company that's been doing accessibility for, I believe, over 40 years now. And Pretorian is quite well known for a lot of the products that allow people with physical disabilities to access, computers, tablets, you name it. But what we're here specifically about this morning is games. So take it away, Bob.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning with you, and this evening, early evening with me here in the here in England. But glad to meet up with you. And yeah, thanks, Steve and Ryan, for inviting me along. And I hope this session is an element of fun, informative, and so I hope you have a stack of questions for me, at the end. So I'm going to see if my camera will come on. Oh, right. How do I share my screen?
Oh, I might have to give you permissions for that. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Bob, are you able to do it now?
I'll just try it then. And yes, apologies if you're having your breakfast and you suddenly have this image of this rather intense looking gentleman with a receding hairline coming on your screen. So yes, this is me full in live in color, as it were. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Hmm. Yes, it's been a while since I've been a participant on a course on a webinar. I've usually done it myself. So usually, oh, there we are, share. Right. Okie dokie. That's not that one. Here it is. That one. Share sound. Right. Okay, so hopefully you can see the start of one of the slides on a PowerPoint. So it's just okay. Right, I'm hoping you can see everything there. So yeah, we're going to be covering what's called assistive gaming, as it were, assistive gaming, virtual video games, and it's an area that Pretorian sort of delved into. Oh gosh, probably about 5-6 years ago, and we had such a huge amount of interest for. I'm just going to mute my video. Okay. So can you just get Steve? Can you still see the PowerPoint? Is that still coming up? Okay.
Yep, that's still coming up.
Right, excellent. So yeah, we got basically how it came about was we got approached at a conference by a couple of delegates that we wanted to get into gaming. Is there anything that you arrange can support individuals to access gaming? And we went away and came up with a couple of solutions. So I'll run through those, and I'll run through the range of different sort of solutions that we manufacture and provide. So moving on. It's not working. Just a bit of information about Pretorian. Excuse me, I've got a bit of hiccups. So we were founded in 2001. So Steve was very generous. We have been in the industry a long time, but not for 40 years. But as individuals as well, our founder, one of our founders, who's been in the industry for longer than that. We have a product range of over 80 products. So we specialize in assistive technology and computer access. And we have solutions that range from mouse alternatives to switch access environmental and appliance control, toy control, assistive gaming, which is what we're covering today. And we do all sorts. So we're known or renowned as the people who provide alternative or support alternative access solutions. We are an OEM in the true sense, in every sense as such. So all of our products are designed and manufactured here in England in a little town called Gainsborough, just outside of Lincoln. And there's a phrase I use: you say it one way, you can say it the same way, back again. So we design what we manufacture what we design. We truly do that all under one roof. And it's something that we're very proud of. And I think it's reflected in the quality of the products that we produce and the solutions that we provide. So we ship everything from stock, so we have a large amount of stock in at any particular time, so we can manufacture and assemble orders that pretty much across the board with all of our product range. That's just a bit of details. As most manufacturers are ISO 9001 registered. We are in the MDR compliant, which is a medical device. I always get the R on it. It's register or regulation. I'm not entirely sure. I always forget, but this is across the entire range. So even our simply a smoothie wide switch is MDR compliant. It's something that we decided to do when it came into existence, that we were going to be MDR compliant across the entire range. Some of the manufacturers choose which products are or not. We've taken the approach that everything that we manufacture is MDR compliant. A bit about me. So as Steve very nicely was very nice and generous in the intro. My name is Bob Sagoo, and I am based here in England, and I am the UK and international sales manager for Pretorian. Sales is a small aspect of what I do, and there are other aspects with regards to training, support, and so forth that I do as well. So it's quite a wide-ranging sort of role that I have. I have been in the assistive tech industry for over 10 years, through running a business of my own, and then joining up with Pretorian a few years ago. So based here in the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent, but with regards to the international element, I do travel extensively. So I was just saying to Steve and to Ryan, I was over at ATIA. We were always over at ATIA every year. We have a booth there. We bring all of our new products or our current products there, and we meet up with delegates, and we love that interaction. But I travel to the US quite frequently. You get to come over to Canada, but Steve and Ryan were talking about maybe it's time that there is some sort of face-to-face conference AT conference in Canada, which we would jump at the chance to being part of. So hopefully in the coming years, you'll be able to see us in the flesh, as it were. So I'd say we're swigging my water. We have a global footprint, and so we export to over 60 countries. So in Canada, you'll be able to access our products from your usual usual sources, as it were, and that's centralized globally as well. We have a really great network of distributors, from in all four corners. The one size one ethos is something you're probably going to have if you're involved in assistive technology, and it was just a play on the one size fits all, because what we do is we tailor these solutions to the individual, and they have to be able to have that ability within these solutions to tailor it and to make it work for that individual, which we're really proud of. And that's why a lot of our solutions, if you're familiar with them, there's a lot of functionality built into them for that reason. So you can actually tailor it to that individual's needs, be it if it's a joystick or trackball, and they want to use it in a different way, in the sense that they want to change the orientation, or they would like to use it for the left hand. You can actually change the settings and just gear it towards that individual's access needs and requirements. So yeah, that's something we're really proud of. Excuse me. Some of you know me, probably know what the next slide is alluding to. This gentleman here is my son Harshi, and he is the motivation as to why I'm in the industry and do what I do. You might detect a little bit of a break in my catch in my voice. There is a reason for that, and the reason being is not just because Archie is my son and is an amazing young man. Sadly, very unexpectedly, we lost Archie just before Christmas last year, and so he's still my motivation. He'll always be my motivation, and he's an incredible, engaging young man, and his work is going to continue on. He was presenting and doing all sorts of amazing stuff with eye gaze and assistive tech. So this was really his passion. So it's down to me to continue that on his behalf. But yeah, he is always and always will be my motivation for being involved in this industry and doing what I do. So yeah, amazing young man. Miss him like crazy, but I still feel him around her anyway. Okay. So why assistive gaming and assistive stroke inclusive in gaming? I think there are some really good bullet points there. You know, I found it to be incredibly um, a subject matter which the engagement levels can be from a very young individual all the way to someone who maybe is a lot senior. My age, for example, may have had a traumatic brain injury, as it were, or just is new to this to gaming, and it's an activity they wish to engage with. There are lots of positive aspects with regards to trying gaming or trying inclusive gaming or assistive gaming, including actually the therapeutic aspects of it. Is there's a lot when you look at what motor skills you need to engage, even down to eye gaze, utilizing eye gaze, and the skill sets you develop from gaming and looking at other aspects with regards to computer control, computer access. There's lots of fundamentals that you can develop in gaming that can be applied to alternative access, whatever your access requirements are. So I think there's a real there's a real connection there, as it were. But there's some really great things. It's a fun activity. If an individual is limited to to going outside or to engaging face to face, then a gaming platform really ticks a lot of boxes, especially as we came through the pandemic and we weren't able to go out. This gave social interaction to individuals that wouldn't necessarily be able to experience that. So there are a huge amount of key aspects to why assistive gaming is something that's it's worth exploring, worth individuals trying out and getting involved with. So how this all begins? It began with that rather impressive gentleman on the left. It's a chap called Bryce Johnson, and he invented the Xbox Adaptive Controller, or the ZAC, or the XAC. It's weird when you look at it. It came out in 2018. It feels like it's been around a lot longer than that. But this is, from my perspective, it's a nucleus of a number of it's a nucleus of our eye gaze assistive gaming solution called Game On, but also it just works so well as an assistive controller. And I think the next picture really does show the connectivity on this. So if you're familiar with this, I do apologize, I'm going over old ground. But what this is recognized within the Xbox sort of like what's the word I'm looking for? Ecosystem as a bona fide controller. So it's really easy to connect to an Xbox console, whether that's the Xbox One S or the S or the X. It'll work with all the newest consoles, bar the 360. Anything above beyond the 360, it'll work and work seamlessly with. It works wirelessly wired. It connects up via Bluetooth. But what it has, as you can see, it has so much connectivity. So you've got all of these 3.5mm jack inputs, as it were, which you can plug any switch in. And here's a key thing to understand. And I'm slightly sort of like going off tangent with regards to talking about switch access. But I've had this come to me a few times. The industry standard for jack for switches, wide switches, is a 3.5mm jack. If someone tells you that isn't the case, I'd take that with a very big pinch of salt, because as far as I'm concerned, in my experience, 3.5mm is the standard uniform, is the industry standard. So any switch will work in the adaptive controller. So it could be a specialist switch like a grass switch or a puff switch. As long as it's got 3.5 mm jack at the end of it, it'll work with the XAC or the adaptive controller. But you've got all of that function, all that connectivity at the side. You've got USB ports either side as well. So you can actually plug in joysticks, and you can plug in our joysticks, the Optima and the Ultra joystick, which I'll come to later on. And you've got the nice service at the top where you can actually, which are replicating A and B. So you can use it as a controller in its own right if you've got an individual who has the gross and fine motor skills to access, but I can't access the normal conventional Xbox controller. Then this in its own will work perfectly fine, and it's mountable, and so it's a great piece of kit. But to connect to it, it is fabulous because you can connect all sorts of different elements to that. So yeah, so what we have there, we've got the Optima joystick and the Ultra joystick, which I'll show you in a video shortly, a live video. But we also have our switches, our wide switches, and all of them have been tested by Microsoft and carry the labeling designed for Xbox. So if you hear any issues with regards to third-party products maybe not working within the Microsoft sort of like ecosystem, that doesn't apply for it to our products, as our products have been tested. And every time an update comes through on the adaptive controller, there's been a few as of late. We test all the products are tested, and they still work perfectly fine. So all of our products, be it the Optima joystick and the Ultra joystick and the Smoothie switches, are all work and quite instantly and work really well with the Xbox controller. So moving forward, Nintendo Switch. I'm going through this very quickly. There is elements that I thought I took out of it because I want to try and leave as much time, excuse me, as possible for questions and also the live element as well. So the Nintendo Switch, people are either, well, there's three actually. There's Xbox, there's Nintendo Switch, and there's PS5, which I'll come to later on. But Nintendo Switch, we got asked for a solution for the Nintendo Switch, and we came across the Flex controller by a company called Hori. Now, they are actually our Japanese distributor, so we don't actually manufacture the Flex controller, but it is, we are the international distributors as such. It does support the same product, so it does support the Optima joystick and the Ultra joystick, and our Smoothie switches, as you see, they're all connected to it. The design of this is slightly different is in the sense of the XAC by Microsoft, their adaptive controller, the switch ports are at the back. With the Flex controller, they're at the front, and I actually prefer them at the front because it means you can take switches in, plug switches in, plug them out, move them into different functions. If I go back slightly, so if I just go back, you see all these switch ports. They're all representative of different functions that you can do with a conventional gamer. So you plug a switch into that, it'll replicate that movement. What's changed now is that you can now, in the Xbox platform, to a certain degree in the Flex as well, Nintendo, you can actually remap those controls. So you can actually say, well, rather than it doing up, I want it to do something else. And you can actually map these settings to do something entirely different. I.e., if you've got in a particular game and you've got a set of commands that and functions that are there for movement, for example, you can actually change those switch ports to replicate those particular movements with a single switch. So there's a lot of flexibilities built into these new assistive controls, but that's more on the software side in the console, but also in the game design as well. So there's a lot of work that's being done alongside the hardware that we're producing to make the gaming experience more inclusive and more easier for individuals to access. But in itself, this is a really great product. It's a really nice games controller. What I like about it is the design of it, and I'll show in the live video. You can access the buttons. They're quite nicely spaced out, as you can see in the pictures. You can actually access them quite nicely. So just to use it as a normal controller on its own, it's great. It's a wired assistive controller, so it's not wireless. It'll plug into the USB ports in the cradle in the Nintendo Switch. So what you need to do with that is when you're using the Flex controller, you cannot use the Nintendo Switch out of the cradle. So it's not a fully portable version. I'll say that because at the moment that's the case. As if you're a gamer, you probably know there's a new version of the Nintendo Switch coming out. It will have USB connectivity, but there looks like potentially a USB-C or a USB, another USB port on the actual um, um, gamepad of the console element of it, which you take out the cradle. If that's the case, I don't know if we'd be able to connect to it or not. We've yet to see the specs on that. Nintendo are being a bit quiet on that front, so because we've asked them a number of times. But if there's a USB-C port there, it may be a bit an option to connect the Flex to the gameplay. Then you've got a mobile solution, as it were. But wait and see on that one. So yeah, it does support eye gaze as well, so you can actually link it up to a Tobii Dynavox eye tracker. So like the i series as such, it'll work, or it'll work with that. But it's quite involved. There are a lot of there's additional software that you need to download as well. So it's not it's quite involved setup, but it's possible. It is possible to do. So yeah, so this is essentially how we respond. So this is the optimal joystick we do. It's a wired joystick. It'll work, as I say, it'll work with the Xbox, Nintendo, and also it'll do PC gaming. But what it does is it has dual functionality. So you can use it as a normal mouse alternative for cursor control and such. And then you press the yellow and the red buttons. You hold those down for 10 seconds. You get an audible sort of warble, as it were, and that switches into gaming mode. So it is then a bona fide gaming joystick. So you've got essentially two functions out of one device. So an individual wouldn't need to change the hardware to get a gaming joystick. The two joysticks that I'm going to mention now both have gaming functionality built into them, and you can switch between them as well. And just a note on all of our joystick solutions and our trackball solutions, you've got, if you see at the bottom right hand side, you've got a switch import. You can actually plug in switches into those either side of the joystick or trackball. And if the smaller buttons on the top are not accessible for you, you can use a switch to access those buttons as well. So yeah, a really nice solution that we've done phenomenally well with. And that's the Ultra joystick, which again has the mouse and gaming capabilities, but it's a more of a smaller footprint. But also that's more of a mountable solution, so you can mount that on a bracket onto a power wheelchair or onto a fixed table mount like a rear dap mount solution. That is a small footprint. You can also tell this device what change orientation this device. So what you do is you enter what's called learning mode, and then you push the joystick up, and that tells the position, tells you what position is up. So it then correlates what's left and what right and down. So you can turn that device around and make it mount it whichever way you wish, and then it can be tailored to the user's sort of like requirements, as it were. But yeah, it's a really nice, neat little solution. And you've got switching ports in there as well. So if you wish to put a switch into that and use an external switch, you can do. Gaming, easy gaming. So something we got asked about as well is that great, I've got something from PC gaming, console gaming, but what about PC gaming? Now, I'm not a gamer, as you can probably tell, but I didn't realize how popular PC gaming has become, but also how invested people are in the sense of getting the rig working the way they want. If you're familiar with assistive technology, you know aesthetics isn't really the thing. It's function over form, as it were. So gaming rigs, by their very nature, tend to be quite messy, but they are geared towards an individual being able to do the controls they need to do for gameplay and so forth. So everything needs to be mounted in such a way. But we got asked time and again about PC gaming. Can we do a solution for individuals that can't access a keyboard but could maybe access a joystick or a switch? So we came up with a Questa. So the Questa joystick, basically what that does, you've got cursor movement, you've got mouse control as well. So you've also got the ability to use this as a conventional mouse alternative, but you can switch between the modes. But when it comes to gaming, it replicates the keystrokes that you just saw there on the keyboard. So WASD is up, left, down, right. The Quest joystick replicates those movements. And so W is when you move the stick upwards, but I think the next slide does, yeah, there you go. So it just shows you the orientation that you've got. So W, up and down, left and right, but also you've got diagonal movement, which you can either enable, which it's enabled when it leaves the factory, but you can switch that off if you wish. So you've got a combination of left but up, or left but right, or down and left, and vice versa. So it gives you a lot of options, a lot of functionality in that respect. And to move along with that, we have its cousin, as it were, the Quest to Switch box. So we've got individuals that maybe can't, access a joystick. They can access the Switch. Well, the Quest will enable them to access a PC gaming using switches. But here's a great thing: you can program this as well. If that's the next slide, now let's there you go, back a bit. Sorry. As it says in there, you access Notepad on a PC. You can actually program each socket to do something else. So they're up to 3 levels, and I think the fourth level is one that you can actually program in a particular command that may be relevant to a PC game. So here's a great thing. The reason why we do these together is that, for example, if you can access a joystick and you can access a switch, well, you can have the joystick for the standard movements, WASD for navigation. But what about if there is a button that there's accelerator, or there's brake if it's a racing game, or there's firing if it's a Call of Duty or a shooting game? Well, that's where the switch box comes into really handy. The Quest to Switch box, so you can actually program the switch box to replicate those particular keystrokes as well. So then you've got a fully enclosed solution for PC gaming. So you've got movement with the joystick, but you've also got the other function that you can access via switches. So it's a really great all-round solution. And you can, with level 4 being programmable, you can actually program this to whatever you wish. Now, there is another product we do, which we try not to make a rod for our own back, but sometimes we just our own worst enemy. We've got a product called Ultimate Switchbox, which takes what the Quester does and takes it to the next level. So, as an all-round access solution, the Ultimate Switchbox can do the gaming element, but it is programmable to pretty much any keystroke. So, and a multiple keystroke. So, for example, you're hitting a single switch. That single switch could be then set to do a number of different commands like Control, Alt, something. So you could be doing multiple keystrokes just through this single switch switch press, as it were. So that's really cool. That's another product that which we'll probably cover another time if Steve and Ryan ask me back. I'm just looking at the time. I think we're doing okay for time at the moment. But yeah, so we've listened to what people have said. They thought they want more computer access, and the Ultimate Switchbox certainly does that. But the Quester and the Switchbox and joystick are great for PC gaming, and they're a really cool solution. That's my son, and he's using eye gaze. So he was an eye gaze user, and he in that picture there, he's playing with his best mate Will, and I'm actually in that same living room now, and he's playing Minecraft. But you can probably see in the picture, it's a split screen. So they're not playing; they're playing against each other as well in the one game. But Archer's using his device, his communication device, as a gaming controller, and that's talking to the ZAC, the XAC. So this is a solution that came to us about 4 years ago, and it came from at a conference, and it was along the lines of what always tends to be the case. We know you're the guys to talk about computer access or alternative access. I know be able to do, I have a client who wants to be able to do this. Can you do it? And we went away and we came up with this product, which is called the Game On, which enables individuals who are Nightgate users to access the Xbox platform. And that's how effectively how it works. So it utilizes the IR capability that's built into these communication devices. So if you think off the top of my head, I'm looking at the grid pads, with Grid 3 on. You're looking at the Tobii Dynavox I series with either Grid 3 or Communicator 5. And then you're looking at the PRC, the Accent 1400. If that's got Grid 3 on or such, even if I know you guys are probably using Empower at the moment. We had it all set up for New Voice, which is what's been used still here in the UK. We're waiting to hear to get an update on Empower, and we hope we'll be able to offer us the solution that work on Empower as well. But yeah, for the two main eye gaze device manufacturers, so GridPad by Smartbox and Terry Dynabox's iSeries, it'll work fine because the IR capability. And we used IR over Bluetooth or anything else because A, it was already there. B, it's solid state. It's relatively say solid state. It's a stable connectivity. Yes, you need what's called line of sight, but your TV remote, most TV remotes still are IR based. There's a lot of technology that still uses IR as an access method, and it's built into the devices. So we just thought, great, we'll just stick with IR, and it's proven to be really good. There's no really issues with range. With a new IR chipsets are in these devices, they bounce the signal from two different sources, so connectivity is not an issue, as it were. So yeah, so there's a typical setup. So you've got your device at the bottom, and then you have the game on, which is plugged into the XAC or the adaptive controller from Microsoft, and that in turn talks to the console. And there is a slight change in this now because there's been a couple of updates to the adaptive controller. So if you see in that graphic, it says D-pad cables, and they're all multicolored. You no longer need those. It just works off two USBs. In fact, it should only work off needing one USB cable, which is from the game on to the left side socket of the XAC. I use two still because I think my adaptive controller needs updating. But so two USBs connecting into the XAC, and it'll work perfectly with the which either device, whether it's a GridPad or an iSeries. Then we get onto the grid sets. Now, apologies for Comms 5 and Communicator 5 users. I've used Grid 3 because it's the software that I'm familiar with. So all of these graphics are pretty much Grid 3 orientated. But I have an iSeries here with me with Game On running. So when we do the live element, I'll show you how that works. So yeah, if you're familiar with grid sets or page sets, and you know how to edit them, what we've done with Game On is we have put a resources on our website. So we go to the Pretorian website, go to assistive gaming, look at Game On. If you go down to supporting downloads, you've got these files set up for I think pretty much every different solution. So Grid 3 on a grid pad, Grid 3 on an iSeries, and obviously Comms 5 on an iSeries, and then the new voice for a PLC Accent 1400, and also for Grid 3 on Accent 1400. So we've got those as a free download. And what you download this and put these pages up, and you get these grid sets, which are I think simple, intermediate, and advanced, I think. Yes, that's good. Okay, yes, so simple is just simple navigation, then YB, X and A, which are the main control functions on a keypad, on a gamepad, on a gaming controller. You have intermediate, which has a few more. You've got left trigger, right trigger, bumpers, and you've got more navigation with the D-pad sticks, as it were. Then you go on to the one which is just everything on it. As it says in capitals and underlined, it is not intended for gameplay. For many of you that are familiar with Grid 3 or Comms 5, what this is essentially everything you can do on a games controller put onto a grid or a page set. The idea behind this is that enables you to actually sort of like use this as a template and let's edit this and then make it a page set or grid set game specific. So I've got one set up here on the grid pad now for Hogwarts, which I'll show you shortly. You can design this to whatever page set or whatever game that you're playing, but also design it to how individual can access the game, because they may not be able to access. In fact, you would find it incredibly difficult to play a racing game and utilize the eye gaze to do all the commands that you needed to do. So what we suggest is there's a way of playing a game which is called co-pilot, where you're playing with someone, be it a sibling or a key worker or a family member or a classmate, and What they do is they're playing along with you. So you can access, they have a page set up just for, I don't know, accelerator, for example, if it's falls down, or for shooting game, for firing. And that's how it can be made as big and positioned in the place where it's easy for individual access. Then the person alongside them could be utilizing the conventional games controller to do all the other advanced sort of functions, as it were. So you suddenly got this dynamic where and I'm sure many of you have seen this. I know I've seen this so many times where engagement before meant, okay, this individual is watching us playing the game, and that's the level of engagement they have. This brings them into the actual gameplay themselves. So they're controlling one element, and whatever that is, it's a nice simple sort of action. But along with someone else, they are able to access who are controlling the other functions in the game. It suddenly throws open the door to, okay, what games can I play? Because that's the next question I always get asked. Well, with these systems, what games can I play? If you play this way, in the Copilot way, you can play pretty much any game. You just set it up with which of the particular cell, what you want that individual, what they feel comfortable accessing or be able to control. Do it that way. Now, if they have more, as their skill sets increase or they're able to do more, there can be more elements that you can add to it. It could be changing the camera view or braking accelerator. And you can put delays and timers in there so the accelerator will stay on for 10 seconds and come off, and then you select it again to accelerate again. Same with with other elements. So you can actually tailor the gameplay or the page or the interface that they access to be reflective of what their capabilities are, but also what elements of gameplay they can actually realistically access. And if you're doing the Copilot element as well on the Xbox as such, then it just opens a door to whatever. I mean, yeah, parts like Minecraft. We were doing things like Hogwarts. We were playing all sorts of different games that some not age appropriate as well. But he was 18, so you could do whatever you wanted. But it opened the door to him in the sense of what he could do. And then, as well as that, there's the online element as well, where he ended up playing with his friends, with his relatives in Leamington, or with his friends down the road. They were playing online, so it just opens the door. It really does open the door to all sorts of elements of gaming and all the really positive aspects of it. Oh, forgot this element was there. Copilot. So this is essentially what Copilot does, is what I referred to. So this is built into the Xbox, and so essentially you can use a conventional controller alongside the individual using their adaptive controller or the game on, for example, for an eye gaze user, and play some really cool games. So, okie dokie. So these are some solutions that are available at the moment. So we've talked about the XAC, which is the adaptive controller for Microsoft in the left-hand corner. As we go down, there's a couple of new controllers that have come out, which are available. So, last part of last year, there's a wireless controller which is just below the adaptive controller from Microsoft. That's a third-party one that works really well with the Xbox platform. Below that, you've got a picture with all these different ends on it, as it were. That is what is Microsoft have actually produced. It's if you go to their assistive gaming webpage, which I don't actually have a link for, you can download a file, and if you have a 3D printer, you can actually print these off yourself. And there are just a range of different tips that you can put onto your thumbstick puppers, as it were. And you can put those onto a top of a conventional controller and to make it a bit more accessible. And that's free to download, free to access from Microsoft, which I think is really cool. And then at the bottom, they've got the Xbox Adaptive Joystick, which is coming out this year. It's very reminiscent if you think of back in the day. I mean, this is going really back in the day, the old Wii consoles you used to get, and they had that Wii controller with the two elements and stuff. It's very similar to that, but it's a bit of a niche aspect, but it's something that, for example, if someone's is how got access to one hand, then this is a great single-handed controller that's Microsoft are coming out. So I don't know if it's going to be early part of this year or middle to end of this year, but it is due to be released this year. You've got the Protimus, which is the one with the lady with the blue, very eye-catching fingernails. That came out last year. It's an Irish company that make it. It is the third-party controller But yeah, it has a lot of functionality into it. You can configure that. It's very modular. You can configure it whichever way you wish, however way you wish to make it so it can be single hand uses or dual hand. You probably noticed that I haven't really mentioned PS5. From a PS5, that's a controller. It isn't really. It's very niche in the sense of like that when people with certain um, access requirements may be able to access it, but it's not as accessible as it ought to be or should be. And it's very limited to what you can connect to it. You can't connect joysticks or any other aspects to it. You can only connect switches to it. So we're slightly disappointed with the PS5 because we thought that that will be it'll be in the same lines of the Xbox adaptive controller, even the Flex controller um, by for Nintendo, but it wasn't and it isn't, and I don't know if it's going to be a second generation of it or not. But yeah, a bit disappointing on that front. So, but it's still there, so you can still buy it, and they're all quite reasonably priced. So the adaptive controllers from Microsoft in UK money it's about £75. The adaptive controller that I believe that's under £100 from Sony. And so yeah, they're all pretty much a muchness as far as price goes. The more third party stuff is a bit more expensive. I don't know the pricing on the adaptive joystick as of yet. And this is one that is I'll talk about it, but very briefly. The quad stick, an amazing piece of kit, but it is very specialist and it requires a huge amount of setup. But if you've got someone, for example, who's a quadriplegic, this would be the control that they would essentially be utilized not just for gaming, for just general access as well. But it is amazing what it can do. It is incredibly expensive, and there is a lot of setup involved with regards to the quad stick, but it has a huge amount of capability with regards to assistive gaming. This is a resource here in the UK, but it's worth looking at. It's a mate of mine, Barry Ellis. It's for One Switch, and he does all sorts of different solutions for adaptive controllers, adaptive gameplay, and yeah, really worth checking out and having a look at because there's some really cool stuff on various websites. So I'll make sure I send this through to you, Steve, so you got this as a resource to send out to anybody today. I'm hoping this will bring up the live window that I've got, which my camera set up. If it doesn't, I'll jump out. I'll get that set up. These are some accessible games that I know work really well. So with Xbox, you've got Minecraft, Rocket League, and those Rocket League and Team Sonic and CTR are all racing games. Hogwarts, which I'll try and show you shortly, is a really cool game with some really good accessible options in there. You can access the mapping of the controller really easily, but it's a really nice, slow-paced game. I think it's one step up from Minecraft. So you've got gamers who are a bit older. I think Hogwarts is a really cool one to look at. FIFA's a great one as well. And then applicable games. So NHL hockey, where is it? Trying to think of my ice hockey players. I don't know of any. Wayne Gretzky, I think he still does a game. Footballs, all sorts of. So there are lots of games that you can access on the Xbox platform, which you can adapt to for assistive or adaptive gameplay, assistive gameplay, as it were. Switch, I tend to go with Mario Kart. PC gaming, there's some really cool resources. Guys in the office use Ori and the Will o' the Wisp. That's a really good game for PC gaming. But there's so many different PC gaming games that are coming out as of late. So it's that list is growing all the time. Great. Yes. I was very hoping this would work. So I've got the setup for gameplay. So I'm just gonna. So this is not how my dining room normally looks. So I've done this especially for you guys. So you can imagine that's gone down really well for everybody else that lives in this house, but needs must. So this is Hogwarts. So this is so the XAC is here. There's the Xbox console, and there's a little box which is the game on. And now, if I just move that around a little bit, you'll see there's a little red disc just here, and that's where the infrared elements go. So this is a receiver. This device sends an infrared transmitter at the back, and that'll send it to the XAC here. So showing how quick it works, for instance, there's no lag. This is where I could become a bit of a cropper. Now, there's my conventional controller. is, which I'll put over here so you can see I'm not accessing that. Right, a little bit. So if I hit A on here, though my eyes could do it with my eyes, and it's easy if I do it with my fingers just for purposes that I'm slightly in a different position to where the eye gaze normally be. So if I hit A, there you go. So it's going into the gameplay and it's saying press A to start. There is very little lag at all. So I've got the narrative running as well to tell me what it is that I wish to. Now here, for example, this will be really difficult to navigate on this screen, but if I've got my game controller here, I can just navigate that round. New character. Press A. A white outline indicates your active target. Movement left trigger reveals additional secondary targets and a reticle for greater targeting precision. So I've got the audio feedback on as well, so I'm getting audio prompts. Indicates your active target. So I just press. So just one thing I want to show you with this with regards to how it. So here you go. D-pad down to heel. So D-pad down to heel. So that's how quick it works. Now I know you'll say, okay, I'm accessing gameplay here, I'm watching gameplay here. That is not really ideal. And I agree absolutely. So what I normally do with this setup is if I've got someone who uses eye gaze and wants a setup of their own, you can actually do what which I've done, which is picked up one of these little lightweight monitors, which I can then mount to the side here, or if I do it here, for example, on a rear adapter on, or have it above, or to the side, or even below. We've then got an access, so that movement, that head movement, eye movement, is not as aggressive. They're actually watching the gameplay and playing on it. This was really inexpensive to buy, and it's just a second screen, as light as anything, so it won't add to the weight on the mount itself. A really cool way of doing things. So if I then show you, for the purposes of being unbiased, it's just here we are. So I'm hoping you can see it. This is a Toby Dynavox Live series. So if I press L on here, okay, see I'm moving. So here's a really cool thing. Let's say in theory you've got two eye gaze users. One's an iSeries, got an iSeries, one's got a grid pad, or maybe they've got both the same device. If you set up a grid set for certain key functions, so if on one they had drink the poison or jump, and the other one had protector or interact or whatever, and the other, you can, in theory, be playing two people playing that game, controlling different functions, and having someone access a control to the other functions that were. You could have two actors using one game on, one XSE, one console. It's a bit of a workaround because ideally, if you wanted to give them complete independence, they would need their own game on and their own XAC to interact to play the game separately. But if you've just got one game on and one XAC, you could set that up the software in one to do and design a page set or grid set to do one action, and a different action on this page grid set, and they could play, and there's no interference because they're not playing at the same time. They're playing, one after the other. So the game on won't get confused with different IR codes, as it were. So that's a really cool thing. So I'm just gonna. I know I've got much time, Steve. So bear with me a second. I'm just gonna flick the feed. Oh no, it's switched off. This is the great thing. We do PowerPoint, and then you go to a live demo. Everything goes on the standby, so you got to switch everything back on again. So Yep. So I'm going to move this, just close this a little bit. So you've got the game on the Flex controller here. That's connected into the to the Nintendo Switch. Great thing about Mario Kart is you can set it up to do different things. So I can set Mario Kart up. If I go back, let me do it. But I can set Mario Kart for auto accelerate and auto steer. So I'm not touching any controllers, and it'll start on its own, and it'll steer on its own. So just follow it around, and it'll just go on its own. What you can use, you've got a joystick if you wish to. You've got joystick access here, so you can steer. And you've got switch access here as well. So the yellow switch is plugged in, so that'll hit any of the special functions when it's doing anything. It's not doing anything at the moment. There we go, throw the mushroom. And you got R, this is hot. So yeah, that's the Flex controller. And we also have a solution, which is this product here, which enables an eye gaze user using Grid 3 to access this device, which in turn will access the console. So you can actually have eye gaze users playing Mario Kart, which I don't think I've got time to show you now, but yeah, that's a really cool option as well to be able to give eye gaze users the ability to access the Nintendo Switch platform as well in a really simple way using the Flex, but no third party software. It's just a simple IR box that connects up by switch cable to these devices, to switch ports to the front. Really easy, but we've done grid sets that allow you to, and page sets that allow you to access that as well. And very quickly, while that's playing in the background, can't show you this, it's not connected up, but that's the Questa joystick and the Questa switch box. And there you've got the ability to, you've got all the switch ports, so you can set to whichever, on level 4, you can program those to whatever keystrokes you wish, as it were. So, gives me 5 minutes, a bit of Q&A, but I'll go through this in a very quick way, the rest of it. We're talking the benefits of assistive gaming, as it were. There's a report done by Scope. You go online, type in Scope as a UK charity, Scope UK Assistive Gaming Report. Read that report. It's enlightening in so many ways. It's feedback, genuine feedback from disabled gamers of what they see, what access, adaptive options they access, what hardware they access, the issues they've had, and so forth. So it's a really good report. I recommend you Googling that and having a read through that. Just some the barriers that they've had to overcome, as it were. And yeah, this is why there's a lot of gaming solutions that have been coming out last 18 months. The ONS, the Office of National Statistics here in the UK, the purple pound is what essentially is the disability currency, as it were, the market, as it were. It's worth £274 billion. That's just in the UK. So you can see why a lot of companies are jumping onto the bandwagon that we've been on for a long time, which is great. It means there's going to be more hardware, more innovation coming through. So we're excited about that. But from a moral perspective, we've been doing this for a number of years because we want to provide solutions to the users that we really need them. And that's us. So if I stop sharing and or leave that on and till if I can Mario Kart for a while, because it's going to be a bit noisy. But if you guys can hear me okay, that's great. I will happily take any questions.
Yeah, if people want to use the raise hand feature, I can allow you to talk in the webinar here. You can ask questions. But Bob, one's come up already. Rianne asked the question, which would you recommend public libraries purchase for their gaming rooms, and how should they best support and promote these?
I think that eye gaze access is for gaming is still quite niche. So I think that there are mainstream solutions. I would say first off, get an Xbox console, because I think Nintendo Switch, what happens is get a lot of people buy a Nintendo Switch and then they feel they want to do more age appropriate gaming, which probably isn't accessible on the Switch, but is on the Xbox. So I would say go for an Xbox console, get the adaptive controller. Listen, you don't need to, you can use any Switch. So, and these are relatively inexpensive. So there's a Switch. That's a jack port, 3.5 mm jack. So get some switches and start from there. And if you and just see if you can service that need with just an adaptive controller, some switches. If you need a specific joystick, then yes, that's where things start to get a bit more expensive. But if you've got a need that's, if there is a demand there, then you can say, okay, we can do that. But I would say straight off the bat, we're looking at an Xbox, looking at an adaptive controller, and maybe some switches, some buttons, or as you often call them in Canada and US, and then just see how you go on. Just start that off, and then if that sort of like develops and gets more traction, then you can look at, okay, we need to get some specialist joysticks in. You can look at the Optima, you can look at the Ultra, or just conventional joysticks. If they will work, okay, then use a conventional joystick with that. But for the meantime, I'd say controller, some switches.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Sharon has asked, when it comes to mounting the switches to a wheelchair, do you have mounting solutions, or are there particular mounting solutions that you recommend?
Right, yeah. So all of our joysticks, for example, have the universal fixing mounts there, there, and there, 3 points. Uh, wired switches don't. So what I tend to do with these and with this joystick, if I grab it over here, is Velcro pads. Yeah, the black ones are usually a bit more stronger. So a Velcro pad and with another disc on the Readapt do some really cool stuff. You can find some now, but if there's a flat surface, you can put a Velcro pad onto, and just sticking joystick or a switch onto that. That will work really well. Thing is, when you start to look at specialist mounts, they are really great, especially on a wheelchair. Cost will go up, but there are some really cool mounts available out there. Readapt do this gaming mount range called Wolf mounts. But you can look at Manfrotto mounts as such, and there are lots of options online that you can look at, as it were. But if you've got sort of universal mounts as such for joysticks and so forth, then our joysticks will fit onto those. Ultra joystick will fit onto that. The switches, I'd say, I just put them on some Velcro, and that'll be fine on that front.
All right. Anyone
And
else?
oh, sorry, yes, and the adaptive controllers. If I've got enough lead on here, which I might not have. Yeah, they've got the screw mounts there. So these can be mountable on a tripod, for example, as such. So that's the X control. That's the flex controller. You've got the same fixings. In fact, if you just rip this off, sorry. You've got the same fixings on the X80 as well. So you can mount this on. And there's all the ports you've got there. And the battery life on this is crazy. It's so good. I mean, I charge it sporadically, but the power, the battery life on this is phenomenal. It really is. So the Flex requires a USB connectivity. And that's where it gets its power. This doesn't. It just works wirelessly.
Anyone else
So
with
it's a bit
questions?
rushed.
Oh, I see Angel
Yeah,
allowed to
I'm
talk.
for here for as long as you need me. I apologize a bit. It's a bit rushed because this sort of presentation normally I do about 2 or 3 hours. I try to condense it down into an hour, as it were. But no, that's cool. Yeah. Any questions, please? Fire away.
Yeah,
Uh,
Angel
yes.
Honeywell. There you go.
Am I unmuted? Okay. I have a daughter who's 8 years old. She hasn't started playing games yet, but we want to introduce her to it. But
Sure.
she has she needs OT for her fingers. Like it's really hard for her to like open like even to wave, and it's really hard for her to like even like use her thumbs and stuff. It's like she has a really weak grasp.
Yeah.
And so they said that she needs to do keyboarding instead of instead of trying to write with a pencil or a marker or anything like that. So what would you
Right.
suggest to start her off on, I'm talking about like the simple maybe Pac-Man or Tetris, not like uh a Mario Kart. That might be a little bit more difficult.
I mean, what you can look at is just look at an iPad. See what games you can get on an
I
iPad.
have a
Just as
question.
simple to. Hi, Billy.
I have a question. I actually have a really good question. Sorry. So like, if I want to start playing some games, how
Oh,
have
hi, Billy. Can I was just answering the previous question. If you can bear with me. Oh, it's Billy's gone on mute. I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm
So you're
sorry.
asking me about.
My bad.
Yeah, oh, okay. So I was just what I was saying is with regards to the iPad was there are lots of games you can access on the iPad platform, and then just look at look at switch access. So, for example, this is a smoothie switch, for example, and it's contoured. It's not flat. It's curved. So even the slightest movement, you get activation, as it were. So if she's not able, daughter's not able to access a joystick as of yet, and you don't want to invest in a gaming solution, then if you're able to access a game, an iPad, I look at a Bluetooth sort of switch interface, like something like so we do iSwitch, or we also do applicator, which enables you to use a wide switch with wirelessly with an iPad. There are so many games you can access on a Switch, and then that enables you to sort of see if that's a access method that will work for, you. And then you can step up to different gaming consoles. You can look at the Flex or look at the Xbox just with simple Switch access, as it were. It's a matter of just finding it finding starting at a level that is can I say risk free in the sense of like the failure isn't going to put your daughter off as well. Making sure the activity is really simple so they can access that
Mm.
and just build up the momentum that way. But yeah, just look at an iPad. I mean, even an iPad, she's able to touch the screen on an iPad just to sort of affect selecting your choices where that might be an option as well. But I'd say switches are the way that I would look at to start with, as it were.
And
um
what was the name of that little switch that you said just a little bit of pressure and it would move? It looked kind of like a
Okay,
mouse
so
that you were showing.
this is a smoothie switch. As you can see,
Smoothie
it's
switch.
got a curved contour, but you've got we won't hear it, but it's a
your
very slight
is your
movement with activation. So you could just be having a thumb on there and then activating that way. But
Okay.
yeah, I think Steve, if you want to give out my
favorite
email
job?
address, if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, I'm more than happy to.
What is your name?
Thank you.
All righty.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay. This is Billy Johnson talking.
Sorry, Billy, you've gone on mute again.
I was just wondering what your favorite like gaming console is.
So I think you said what my favorite gaming console is. Well, I like Mario Kart. I'm a big Mario Kart fan, but my
No,
son used
that's not a console. Like
my
like
son.
a PlayStation or something. Not like a game. That's not a console.
Okay, so I'd say Switch.
Like PlayStation or like Xbox or something. You
Yeah,
mean
Xbox, Switch. Yeah, Xbox and Switch. They're the two ones that I've got both, and I use both.
skibbity toilet, toilet, skibbity dop dop dop. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Billy, you're back on mute. Does anybody else have any questions?
So, Steve, I'm happy if you want to distribute my email address out to the developers. If anybody has any questions, because sometimes there's a lot to take in. Have a think about it. If there's questions that you want me to, on specific areas I've covered, like the PC gaming and whatever, and just general access, I'm happy to sort of field any or questions. More than happy to.
Alrighty, I'm going to just drop your email into the chat here so that people have it. Give me one sec.
All right. I mean, and the cool thing about assisted gaming is there are so many different avenues you can go down, experiment and try things out, as it were. So yeah, whatever works for you guys is there's no tried and tested method. It's all about trying different things out. And I think I don't think there's no hard and fast set rules with regards to how you play a game. It's a means to an ends. The end is okay. We've got these individuals gaming that maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago they wouldn't have been even been able to access anything. Now it's the opportunities to play games and access games and so forth is it's truly amazing, and it's incredibly rewarding to see, to be part of the solution, as it were, to enable people to play games. So, but no, I get a real kick out of it. It's really cool to see it. And then the also thing I probably haven't mentioned is the actual games themselves, the software. It's becoming more intuitive. It's becoming more easily accessible in the sense of like be able to customize it as you can do with the hardware, you can do with the software now. So you can do what's called mapping a controller to the specifics of that particular game. You can access really easily the gameplay, all the different sort of moves and functions that a controller can do. You can easily access that information on the new games. It's there, really easy to see, and you can set up a lot of different accessibility options, like the narrative, the audio tells you what button to press to activate that particular action. So I think that's really cool in the new generation of games that are coming through. That the assistive gaming element is really coming to the forefront in the way that they're writing games as such. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to present on the far side of the other continent.
No,
You
it's a
really,
pleasure. It's great to interact with you guys and say, you know, just to try things out. If you're not a natural gamer, as I'm not a natural gamer, but it's something that, when you see individuals trying things, and this is across the board, I don't know any particular activity that is not. It's not just it's not age specific. It's not gender specific. It's not skill specific. You can have fun and be shot down hundreds of times, as it were. But it's that activity of, well, I'm actually participating rather than watching. I'm actually participating. That's a powerful, powerful thing to be able to do, and it's incredibly rewarding for the individual, but also for the people involved in supporting or around that individual. So yeah, it's a really cool thing.
fantastic. So we have this recorded. I will be making a link available to it for everybody who's attended, as well as the folks who couldn't make it. Yeah, if you have any questions about accessible gaming products, you can certainly reach out to me, steve@canstech.com, or I've put Bob's email into the chat as well. You can get an email direct to him if you have questions. So, Bob, I think that's it. Thank you very much once again for coming in.
No, I appreciate it, Steve. Ryan, thank you for asking me along. And listen, guys, if you do anything again in the future, just tell me when and where you need me, and I'm more than happy to jump on. There's some really cool things now on the access side of computer access side of things that we're looking at. I mean, what's another element of the gaming aspect which would really help individuals is that we've just launched a wired proximity switch, which you can set proximal to range, as it were. So you can have it really close or up to I think it's up to sort of like 500 mil above the actual switch. So that gives a lot of access opportunity to individuals that maybe can't access a switch, well, they can actually, if they've got a hand movement or some sort of movement they can control, they can use a proximity switch. So yeah, that's something that'll work. It'll work with all these solutions that we've talked about today. The adaptive controller, it'll work seamlessly with those as well. So yeah, really exciting times.
Very nice. All righty. I will let you go here. We're going to wrap it up.
Take care, guys. Good to see you all. Take care.
Have an excellent evening.
You too. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.